Hello. All right, let's get everybody in here. Excited to dive into my second mentor call. In case you missed the first one, my name is Tyler McBroom, and I'm a CPA, tax expert, and have grown and scaled a CPA firm to about $5 million. And I am done that mostly on the back of social media and a couple other marketing channels, but excited to dive in and answer your questions here. So without further ado, let's get rolling. All right, so our first question is, and I've got this over here. So we got Gabriel Suarez. Question is, looking for advice and tips on introducing, onboarding, and training an upper leadership position that is being hired as a complete stranger coming in from outside the company. Background of the business is I've always been huge on promotion within the company, but for the first time, I feel that there is no one in the business truly capable of filling the higher leadership position that needs filling. This would be the highest position, reporting directly to the business owner, which is me. This person has been working for a similar business for 10 years and seems to be a good candidate, but it is a complete outsider to us, and I am about to bring them in to steer the ship, the entire ship. The team will need to trust them, respect them, follow their advice, etc. How do I do this most efficiently from day one of bringing them in? This business is 3 types of related businesses under one roof operating as one thing. Number 1, art gallery. Number 2, glass blowing studios. And number 3, retail smoke shop. All right. Thank you, Gabriel. So first off, if you haven't made the decision yet, which it sounds like you haven't, I would do 2 things in the interview process. And that is, number 1, sounds like they've got the experience. The big one here is going to be making sure they're a great culture fit. I love that you're asking this question, and it's one that I've experienced myself, because when we first started growing our CPA firm rapidly, we were growing faster than we could develop our staff and senior accountants to become managers. So we had to experience this. So make sure they're a culture fit and develop some interview questions that align with your culture. And then the other thing I would do in the interview process is take some of your key team members that you trust that are going to be reporting directly to them and include them in the interview process. That's what I would do. If I was in your shoes, thinking back to when I was first starting to hire these managers from the outside who are going to be working with some of our staff and frontline employees, is you want to make sure that you get their input, because ultimately if they're not bought in, it's going to devastate your culture. And so get their input, let them interview them just like you would. Have your after interview, breakdown where you go around the room and share your insights on the candidate. What are their thoughts? What are their concerns? What are their excitements about the candidate? And you speak last. Don't give them your opinion until they've had a chance to speak, because then what they will share with you will be changed based on your sharing your opinion. The next thing, once you get their input and you say, let's do it, let's go forward with this, I would say in the early phases to have it a quick onboarding, but also a smooth transition. I like the steps of first they shadow while you lead, and then they lead while you shadow, and then they lead on their own. And so what do I mean by that? So if you run any team meetings that they're going to be taking over, or any one-on-one weekly check-ins with your direct reports that will now be their direct reports, you need to get them baked into your culture and baked into your system before you let them go and run with it. And so you'll want to have them follow you around and basically do everything you do for a period of time. And that period of time might be a couple weeks. It might be a couple months. It depends on how much they need to learn and how much is unique about your culture. But then from there, you would have them lead the meetings and you shadow them, and then coach them on anything that you would like to see differently. Don't micromanage them, but just coach them up. And then once you feel comfortable that they've led it to a point where you're not really changing much about how they would do it, then let them do it on their own. So that's how I would attack that process. I love that you're asking that question right now. Next, Dan Razumovsky. So question is, I hope I said that right. What is the best way to learn about financial literacy and how to make sure the company is staying positive? Background is I have a cash flow anywhere from $65,000 to $95,000 a month. Awesome. I am tracking my projects individually to see if the project is profitable or not. When it comes to keeping track of the profit in the company, I need to know what percentages need to be for each line item on my profit statement. How much should I be spending in marketing? At what percent should I be spending on other aspects of the business? And the elevator pitch about the business is looking to grow my exterior contracting company to $1 million in profitable sales. I am looking to open more locations once all implemented systems are working. Looking to extend to a large loss insurance claims, 100K plus, and government contracts. Right now, a veteran-owned business. So the first thing that you want to do, and this is another great question, and I love that you're asking this question. So you want to go and find out what the others in your industry are spending on those items that you mentioned. So you want to do what's called industry benchmarking, which is a little bit different than general financial literacy. To me, the fact that you're asking about what percentages you should be spending on each different expense item means you've got a pretty decent foundation of financial literacy. But to take it to the next level, you want to do an industry benchmarking analysis. And what that means is you can get access. Usually each industry has their own system or company or report that you can buy, that they do a survey of the whole industry. Basically, you take a survey of your peers, and then when you fill out that survey, you get a copy of what everyone else did, and you can look at your numbers compared to that. So you either participate in it and then get access to it by participating, or you can buy it after the fact. Or I know our CPA firm does this for our clients, especially for our CFO clients. And so if you can't find the industry benchmarking survey that does it in your industry, you can reach out to me because we have a whole database. Basically, we pay for this big old expensive subscription that gives us access to all the industries that are available, and we can run those reports for you. Industry benchmarking is the first thing I do. And also, Dan, if you reach out to me, Tyler at mmccpa.com, shoot me an email. I'll send you a copy of my book, Cash Flow and Grow. That dives into all of these items. It's going to cover financial literacy for your business, how to set KPIs, how to do industry benchmarking, all of those items that it sounds like you would really eat up and be hungry to learn. So I'd love to send you a copy of my book for free, no charge. So just email me after this. All right, Quade Sturdy. What makes more sense? Targeting one specific field, scaling then expanding, or slowing the growth process and building systems for all targeted avenues along the way? The background is I intend to scale my company to operate across many facets of construction. I am new to scaling businesses, so your experience will be of great assistance. I'm unsure whether it is smarter to learn all the avenues I wish to pursue from the start, or start with a direct focus, then expand as we scale. Thank you, Quade. Extra info if needed. My thoughts are the more we keep in-house, the better numbers we can pull. However, that entails more risk as I need to employ a much larger team. Focusing has benefits of building a reputable name in said field. However, this will cause lost time learning the other fields. So in my mind, you can't be everything to everyone. And that's true in my field as a CPA. The public accounting industry is a $150 billion industry because there are, I don't know what the exact number is, but there's multiple millions of businesses out there. If our market was every business owner under the sun in the entire world, if you either can be something to nobody or one thing to every, actually I'm saying that wrong, but you can basically, I would strongly encourage you to figure out the thing that you can be the best in the world at, and then go do that. And the way that I like to look at it is there's a trifecta. And you mentioned that focusing has benefits by building a reputable name in that field because you'd cause lost time learning other fields, and that's exactly true. So what I like to look at is this trifecta, and that is, what are you good at? What is there opportunity in? And what do you enjoy? So you might be excellent at weaving baskets for sea creatures that live 2,000 feet under the sea. There's not a whole lot of sea creatures under the sea 2,000 feet below that can buy those baskets. Now, you may enjoy the heck out of making them, but there's got to be opportunity. There may be something that you're amazing at, like you're the best at. Like I'm pretty good at working spreadsheets now. Frankly, I've got a lot of years in accounting. Doing spreadsheets all day long doesn't get me that excited. So I can do it, and I'm pretty dang good at it, and running numbers and doing all that. I'd rather be talking to people and brainstorming and answering questions like this. So while there's getting over a hump because I'm good at it, and there's opportunity because most business owners don't like to look at their numbers, do you enjoy it? So you've got to enjoy it. If you don't have the passion for something, then you're just not going to be able to sustain the willpower and endurance that it takes to really go build a business. So you can hire those people out, hire that expertise, but I like good at, is there opportunity in it, and do you enjoy it? And those are, if you're looking at a couple different options, that's the lens through which where you meet the most of those criteria that I'd go all in on focusing as you scale your business. Kimberly Vincent, what policy or process would you recommend I implement into a contract agreement between my business, Serene Workforce, and our associate massage therapy clinics? In the event the staff of the associate clinic are not providing satisfactory treatments to the employees we send them. As I do a SWAT analysis, this situation could be a possible threat that I would like to create a solution to. Thanks. In the background of the business and the question, I'm having a contract created between my company, Serene Workforce, and our associate clinics. We will be referring employees of the companies who purchase our massage program to our associate clinics for their treatments. We want to be sure the experience they receive is consistent and the massage therapists are maintaining our core values of our business when they are treating the clients we send them. Thanks so much. Always appreciate your insight. So, my thoughts on this, and when I'm thinking about, as I mentioned in a previous question, if you want to get really good at something, you got to niche down. That usually ends up meaning that you're going to refer some things out. And it sounds like that's similar to what you're doing here, where you're referring out to other clinics the work, but really in the customer's mind, that's your brand because it's your reputation since you're sending them there. And so I would recommend, if there's any way to work it into the contract, if there's a mechanism with which you can have control to survey the experience that the people that you send to their clinic so that you have a pulse on that, and basically you have the option that if satisfaction dips below whatever level you determine is appropriate, you have the option to pull the contract. That way it gives you control. You're aligned together so that if they succeed, you succeed, and vice versa. But it gives you that control to make sure that you're able to hold them accountable even though they're not your employees. So that's the best way I would do it. And the NPS, if you don't know what an NPS is, it's a net promoter score. And it's just a 2-question survey, and it's the single most corollary question to client and customer loyalty. And that is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend our service to others based on your experience with X? So based on your most recent experience at the clinic that you just went to, how likely are you to recommend that service to others? And then the second question is, would you like to share more? And that's not a mandatory question, but that way they can expand on their feedback. So that's what I would do, whether it's a survey, whether it's being able to pick up the phone, have a defined criteria of what client and success is for those people that you're sending them there, and have the ability in that contract that it's cancelable if they don't perform on that service. Yeleni de Gavea asks or states, I feel like I need to stop, go back and restart with the basics. I have already started my business when I joined AO, and I don't have the basic foundation and processes down. Where do you recommend I start? I need a clear vision and roadmap and projections on where I'm going and how to get there. And the background of the question in the business is we manufacture decorative throw pillows and pillow inserts. The potential for growth is huge. We currently do around $15,000 a month, but I need to at least double and triple that. I can't scale haphazardly. This needs to be very calculated and planned. The elevator pitch is we're a mother-daughter team that designs and creates custom decorative throw pillows for home and business branding. So I would say, first, deep breath. I know it feels overwhelming when things start to scale and you feel like you haven't done all the work. And I think it's great that you're thinking about this now. And I love that there's huge opportunity and that you're thinking about this at a position where you're at $15,000 a month in sales. Because when you're at that annualizes to $180,000 a year. So when you're at a $180,000 business, it's even if it feels overwhelming in the situation you're at, it's much simpler, not easier, but simpler to make these changes right now than it is when you're a $15 million a month business or even a $150,000 a month business, because you've got more team members. And as you add more team members, it adds more complexity. It makes it difficult to change. So don't throw your sales out the door and start over. So I would say don't start over, but start. So start just carving out 60 to 90 minutes a week of not working in the business and working on the business. So what does that look like? You may have heard that phrase before. Don't work in your business, work on your business. Well, when you're first starting out, you've got to work in the business because there's no one else to do the business, but you still have to take that time to work on the business. So carve out, even if it's 15 minutes a day every morning, or if it's one 90-minute block on Monday, or maybe you need a midweek break to just take that, plug into the matrix and say, how am I doing? Let's look up and work on the systems. Schedule it, do not miss it, and start working on that now as you grow, and do it in lockstep as you're growing and running your business. Because if you're doing $15,000 a month, that's a good business. And you don't want to just stop it and turn it off, because if you've got momentum there, stopping the momentum and then having to rebuild it again takes a colossal amount of work, way more work than if you just do it side by side as you go, even if it doesn't feel like that. So don't start from scratch, but start planning. Start doing these foundational things that you're learning through AO. Work on that vision. Work on that roadmap. And I like the book. There's 2 books that I recommend for this that are excellent. The first one would be the book Traction by Gino Wickman. And then the second one would be Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. Traction's kind of a scaling up light. So I'd start there. It's a little easier to digest and easier to implement, but it gives you basically an operating system for your business for when to calendar these things in, how to create your vision, how to set quarterly goals, and then how to roll it out to the team in a way that holds them accountable and gets them excited and aligned to achieve that vision together. So I don't know how many employees you have, if it's just you and your mom right now, or you and your daughter. And if it's just the 2 of you, you can work on that together, and then you'll have that foundation in place as you grow your team. Don't start over, though. Corey Stevens. When do you know if it's the right time to approach your prospect with your product or opportunity? I'm an independent distributor for a global health and wellness company, network marketing. After establishing a relationship with the prospect and building rapport with them, how will you know when it's the right time to approach them with your opportunity or product? How will you go about approaching them with what you have to offer? So, you don't want to do the whole slide into the DMs or slide into the Facebook message after adding them as a friend and just ask right away. Or where this happens a lot is LinkedIn. It doesn't sound like you're doing that because you are establishing a relationship. So that's a great place to start. The way that I see it is most people get in their heads about waiting too long to ask, and people who are true professionals want you to cut to the chase and ask for the close and either say yes or move on rather than kind of this going back and forth. And if it's a relationship you want to develop and maintain just for business purposes anyways, by all means, continue to develop that and nurture that. But I would say sooner rather than later is a good way, is a rule of thumb rather than waiting too long. And at least approach the subject. It doesn't have to be, hey, buy from me now. But as far as going at the second part of the question is how you go about approaching them with what you have to offer. I would start by just asking how you can help them. So if you ask how you can help them or add value to their lives or find out what's keeping them up at night or what's, with these questions and their answers in the back of your mind of knowing whatever your product is, that it can solve them, that it can solve it for them. If you can kind of ask questions that are maybe leading them to the answer that you're looking for, that they share that they have a need for your product inadvertently based on just questions that you're asking for how you can help them and how you can add value to them, then it's just a soft ask of, hey, by the way, I'd love the opportunity to share with you how my product can help solve that. And if not, no worries. So just say it. You don't want to sound desperate because people can smell desperation, and that's the quickest way to get shut down. But just if you can continue seeking ways to add value to them, and then occasionally bring up that their product would solve that need. All right, we got Dan Ruzamovsky. How much should I sell 20% of my business for? What are questions I should review from this new partnership? Background is I have a person I've worked with and he wants to buy 20% of my company. He will be a managing partner. He will take over all logistics and the operations of the business. I will focus on the sales of the growth. This will explode my business. This will also save me lots of headaches on getting projects done. Elevator pitch is I'm looking to grow my exterior contracting company to $1 million in profitable sales. I am looking to open more locations once all implemented systems are working, looking to extend to large loss insurance claims, 100K plus, and government contracts. Right now, a veteran-owned business. So where I would start is usually when you're valuing a business, it's based on a multiple of earnings. And that is, by earnings, I mean, before you pay yourself as the owner, what comes to the bottom line? So let's say you bring in $1 million in sales, your operating costs and payroll and everything is $300,000. That's $300,000 of owner's discretionary earnings. And let's say after that 300, you put your car in the business, you have your cell phone, you have a couple business trips that are vacations. And so your actual business profits are $200,000. You add that back, you look at what the actual real profit is. And if the industry average multiple is 5x of earnings, your $300,000 of earnings would be worth $1.5 million. And if you're selling 20% of that $1.5 million, 20% of that is a $300,000 buy-in to own 20%. Every industry is just like every industry spends different dollars on marketing and spends different dollars on labor. and different dollars on cost of goods sold, every business and industry is priced and valued a little differently. So software as a service companies earning multiples way higher than an accounting services company because it's a service business, and usually the relationship goes with the owner in most cases. So I would see if you could find a valuation specialist. There's accounting firms out there that specifically that all they do is valuations of companies. That's going to be expensive. So that if you want to go cross all your T's and dot your I's, I'd go to a valuation specialist. They'll dive in and establish a value for your business and then go from there. Again, if you want to reach out to me and my team, we can give you some rough rules of thumb that are going to get you pretty close. And I think that's going to be a better use of your dollars working with. If you've got an accountant, go to your accountant. If you want to talk to us, we'd be happy to help. And we can just say, okay, most people in your business, in your industry charge 1 times revenue, or they charge 4 times earnings. Throw that out there and then see what he says. And then if you can come to an agreement and it doesn't cost you a bunch of professional fees to do that, then great. I would also caution you, make sure you want this person to be a partner rather than someone who's just well compensated. So you can, without giving away 20% of your equity, there's other creative ways that you can structure compensation, whether it's a profit share in a 401k or maybe vesting over time, not just blanket buying 20% right now, or just paying him very, very well based on his performance and net income percentages increasing. That way, I'd just be very careful and make sure it's the right decision. If you're going to give away, and when I say give away, I mean selling, you're going to get something for it, but you're still giving away 20% of your business. So just make sure that it's the right decision and don't enter that into that lightly. Okay. Matthew Phipps. How do you approach a business partner when your responsibilities have become more than the original agreement for a percentage in the company? Background. Our company sells a bike product that creates sparks as you wheelie. I was invited to start this business and lead the product development for a 12% stake in the company. Now, my business partner has me doing website design, graphic design, sales portals, customer support, and shipping, along with designing our next round of products. How do I approach the conversation that this was not in the original agreement of my responsibilities for 12% of the business, and what is an appropriate compensation to ask for? Or is it best to be happy with my percentage and do everything I can to make this business a success? So to answer the second part of the question first, continue doing everything you can to make the business a success, because the second you stop doing your best work is the second you stop finding fulfillment in what you do. You end up starting to check out, and it's just generally not a good move to stop doing your best. I will say you need to have a conversation ASAP, though, as you're continuing to do your best. And that can go one of two ways. So if you feel like you should have more equity, then figure out a fair number. I don't know what that is, just without kind of diving into the value of the business, what the other owner or owners are doing for their share of the other 88%. It depends on what your agreement said when you bought into the business or when you were given this equity in the business. So you'd have to look at those, and we have to dive a little deeper on a custom a one-on-one conversation. But for just generally high level, figure out if you feel like you're owed 25% because you're doing 25% of all the work, and then let's start at 25%. If you don't care about the equity, you just want to be paid more, then go look at what the company would have to pay to hire out all those things you're doing, which sounds like a lot. So how much would a customer support person cost? Let's say it's a $50,000 salary and 20% of your time is spent on customer support. Well, that's a $10,000 job. If it's sales portals that you're building and you've got to pay someone $120,000 to do that job full time and you're spending 25% of your time on that, then you need 30 grand for that to be justified. So I just look at all the different things that you're doing and what you'd have to pay someone to replace you to do it. And then say, look, if you can't give me more equity, now if you want equity because you want to bet on yourself and you know that what you're going to do is make this company go through the roof, then ask for more equity and start there as the conversation. But at the very least, if you're not going to get equity as the business grows and you're helping the business to grow, then you've got to be compensated along the way. And so find out what, based on all the things you're doing, what you think a reasonable salary would be for that. And maybe your concession is you stay at the 12% stake, but you've got to have that conversation to increase your wage if you're going to stick around. So, or continuing to do that work. Otherwise, they got to hire someone to do it. So that's how I would approach that conversation. But continue doing your best work. Just make sure you have that conversation sooner rather than later. All right. Ricardo Delgado. Question. Should my business have an employee handbook or operations manual? Background, I have a barbershop and I'm looking to build the brand behind it. I want my business to be able to scale in the smoothest way possible. That way I can get investors interested. So I would say a two-part answer to this. It is critical to have a handbook and an operations manual and processes and procedures. I would say it's more critical to teach people how to think. So if you don't have core values and service standards, so core values are, when I think of core values, it's the values that your business lives, and they're a compass for your strategic decision-making process. And your service standards are the 3 or 4 standards that you hold that guide your daily actions and their priorities. So like ours are ethical, expertise, experience, and economics. So everything we do has to have a foundation of it's got to be ethical. We do finances, so that's critical. Expertise, we don't take on work unless we know exactly what we're doing with that, because too many accountants try to just take everything and sign it up and figure it out. Experience, then once we've got the ethics crossed off and that we know we're good at it and can do it very well, we want to have everything around a positive client and team member experience. And then finally, economic, we want it to be win-win for everybody. And we want to work to be profitable, but not at the expense of a good client experience or doing things ethically or knowing that we can do it the right way. So those are core values have been talked about. More service standards, those are what they would. So I would implement those before you implement step by step operations manual. You want to build that operations manual out, but I would say if you can implement the core values and the service standards and teach them over and over and over to your team, they will be able to help you by nature build out that operations manual as you're scaling, because you're teaching them how to think. Is the second you go from an amazing culture where you're probably doing things awesome and creating an amazing experience for your clients to, hey, we have to do it this way and you have to cross this checklist off, and you need checklists, and I love checklists and they're critical for making things get done. But I'd rather teach people how to think first and how to make decisions and then go into the operations manual side of things. So that's the way that I would approach it. John Santiago, are there tax incentives, taxes, that exist for startups that are about to receive first money in the door and are looking to maximize on the use of that capital, i.e., we are building an app and bringing our first product into market are there tax incentives that will help us save money as a seed stage startup. Background is my team and I have been in stealth mode building a paradigm-shifting business model that provides a fair approach to industry standards between record labels and musicians. Our format encourages a musician to grow, not just creatively, but as smart business operators in a $23.1 billion market by leveraging services that truly matter, i.e. financial literacy, wealth management, entity creation, and management. We are able to establish a relationship of trust because our model is designed to truly put the artist first. Tech. We are building a proprietary piece of technology, that provides musicians with transparency into their marketing metrics and demographic of listeners that truly engage with their music. The idea is to provide musicians with access to data that they can interact with to make informed decisions on future marketing campaigns, future releases, and more. Yes, there is a credit for you, and it's called the Research and Development Tax Credit, or R&D credit for short. So what it is you look at your time as a percentage of your payroll and operating costs spent on developing a product or developing a system, basically a way you do things. And there's basically companies that do this, and that's all they do is these credits. And they go in and they do a study of your business and ask you a bunch of questions and identify the potential R&D tax credit for you. It's going to be a factor of your payroll costs essentially. And then if you're making actual dollar investments into new technology, it'll be a percentage of that as well. So R&D tax credit is where you want to start. That is what it's designed for, exactly what you're asking about. And so I can absolutely make an introduction to the person who can help you with that. So email me, and I see Shirley's comment here that if you need to reach out to me, it's just Tyler@mmccpa.com, or reach out to Shirley, and she can get you the contact information. R&D credits, absolutely. All right, those are all the questions. Thank you so much. These are some really fun questions. And I appreciate how much this community is soaking it all in, thinking through their business and their growing and their growth. And everyone who is doing what you're doing right now in this foundational stage of your business, you're so far ahead you have no idea how far ahead of every other business owner out there who's just kind of flying by the seat of their pants. So I just want to acknowledge that and acknowledge you for taking that initiative. And of course, as always, thank you, Sean, for putting this together and this platform for everybody to do that and learn that way. So thank you. We'll talk to you next time.